My background is law, and I think that's really where it started for me. As soon as I'm trained in Namibia at UNAM, then I was admitted, and I ended up working for NAMCOR for about 5 years. And then in 2010, I decided to do an MBA in International Oil and Gas Management. I went to the UK, to University of Dundee in Scotland to pursue that. But during that process, I was introduced to downstream energy. And I decided to do a master's in LLM in energy law and policy. That then made me realize that there were very limited opportunities if I had to come back to Namibia to work in that sector. But I was fortunate because the renewable energy program in South Africa had just kicked off at the end of 2012, beginning 2013. So I ended up settling in Cape Town and started working in the renewable energy sector there. They specifically call that program the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. And I then ended up working under REAP for about 10 years, but just working for different OEMs. So when I started, it was kind of building between the one wind farms. So I spent some time in Cape Town working for an OEM called Nordex. They're a wind turbine manufacturer. I moved then to Vestas in Johannesburg for another 3 years, working in compliance, but also working as the country manager for Vestas. Subsequently moved back to Cape Town. I joined Inatrug, who's also one of the shareholders, and that's my connection to Hyphen ultimately. I did kind of legal advisory service for them as a developer in South Africa, and then eventually I worked for General Electric. And then I moved into wind turbine sales. So I was sales leader for GE, basically selling their turbine into Southern Africa. So that's been my experience with renewable energy. So that's kind of how I ended up at Hyphen, because of the background in my legal background, but also in combination with my renewables experience in South Africa. So I consider myself a little bit more of a generalist, and that's why I think my current role as head of ESG also makes sense. I come from a very strong governance background as well, so I'm a certified director with the Institute of Directors in Southern Africa, but also worked at NAMCOR as company secretary for a long time. So that's really how I landed here. So it's a combination of kind of pursuing initially my dreams for further studies and ending up working in a sector that was just kicking off in South Africa at the time.
Beukes, as a woman working in what has traditionally been a male-dominated industry, what challenges did you face or are facing, and how did you manage to overcome them?
It's a common question that I think a lot of women are faced with working in different sectors. I think in my experience, are typically underestimated, but I think it's also, we have the opportunity to then prove them wrong in a way, so it's not necessarily a challenge, but I think also when we have to build the career and climb the corporate ladder, so to speak, maybe the opportunities don't come to us as easily perhaps than men because of being underestimated. Maybe another element that I can add to that, and so I guess the answer to that is, when we lead with competence, that's the thing that, eventually people forget that you're a female as long as you can deliver, on whether you're in the boardroom or whatever position you hold. So that's how we overcome it by sometimes we have to work even a little bit harder than most men do. And I think the second thing in particular that I found in South Africa was that women tend to, because there's a lot of compliance, or whether it's Black economic empowerment or there is a call for greater inclusion of women, and if we're not careful, women can be used to tick a box very, very easily. And I think women I have been in that position where you have to make a call of whether you're going to play that role and effectively be fronted, or whether you're going to speak up and say, well, actually, you know what, if you want me here as a woman in this particular role, I have a lot to offer, and so I will not tick a box for you unless there is true empowerment. So, but it does take a bit of courage, and you have to be clear about your values and what you stand for, and be willing to speak up.
Now, because at the Global Hydrogen Summit recently, you were honored with the Women in Hydrogen 2025 award. Congratulations, by the way. What does receiving the Women in Hydrogen 2025 award mean to you, both professionally and personally?
It feels wonderful to be recognized for the work, but I cannot distinguish the award from the work and my role at Hyphen. There are many other, and Ogito yesterday in another interview had asked me, so are you the only one? Are you the only woman in the sector? Why you and not somebody else? And I think it has to do with the work that I am leading at Hyphen as a project, which perhaps different developers are doing differently. The work that we do in the project is so significant for Namibia because of its size and because we've been very deliberate and intentional about ensuring that Namibians benefit, right? So it's around community upliftment, it's building skills and creating opportunities proactively for Namibians, both in employment but also local content, to participate meaningfully in the sector. And I think so. It's the award represents a recognition for the vision that Hyphen has set out as far as that is concerned, but also the time and the hours that we have dedicated, not just myself, but the entire team, specifically the socioeconomic development team on the project, that we've done in order to realize that. So it means a lot to be recognized for the work that we're doing because, and I think part of it is because it has the potential to be so significantly transformative for our country.
Looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest opportunities for the hydrogen energy in the next 5 to 10 years, both globally and here, especially in Namibia?
I think that's a great question. We would often hear that it's this the global south, the countries like Namibia, South Africa, Mauritania, Egypt, Chile, Australia, all of these countries are able to potentially supply the global north with green hydrogen and green hydrogen derivatives. And that's all in the context of kind of the broader global energy transition. And what I think that presents as a great opportunity for Namibians and especially the youth, young women who want to work in the sector is we have the opportunity to be trained fairly quickly and early because also Namibia specifically on the continent has taken lead in the development of green hydrogen and our strategy. So I think there is just enormous potential if you wanted to build a career in this sector, and it goes way beyond just kind of professions within STEM. Although I do think we need more women leadership, kind of in the STEM professions. I think it just from a career prospect opportunity that is fantastic, and of course we have to consider it also in the context of Namibia's green industrialization roadmap. So beyond projects such as Hyphen that are primarily earmarked for exporting, for instance, ammonia that we produce in country, the green hydrogen industrialization roadmap speaks to broader opportunities locally for further industrialization. So taking ammonia, producing fertilizer. We hear talks of an entire synthetic fuels act being established, and that will just provide enormous opportunity for Namibians if they're interested in going into professions in the sector.
Now, finally, Beukes, I know you have mentioned some advice to young women, but what would you give to young women or students who are interested in pursuing careers in hydrogen or the renewable energy sector?
Don't be in a rush. It takes time to build a career. And what I've seen is the combination of different, I'm a lawyer by training. I've added an MBA in oil and gas. Then I added a master's. So you can combine different, you could do engineering and then add, a master's in something slightly different to really broaden your scope. Because I think what the sector and kind of new professions call for is more kind of critical thinking, being able to apply yourself. So we should, I think, to the extent possible, move away from just thinking as a lawyer or as an accountant, but kind of a little bit more broadly, become more generalists. What I was recommended, my the country manager for the Vestas role in South Africa, when I asked him why he recommended me to take over from, he said, "Toni, you have sound judgment." Now, that's something that one cultivates through experience and kind of being willing to come up the ranks and apply yourself, across different areas within the business. So I would say everybody, young people, stay open and flexible. And sometimes you can't really see where a particular opportunity will take you, but it's kind of be open to the experience and the opportunity, because it builds you in ways that you can't really always understand or see immediately.